Hello, gorgeous. Another day, another pick-a-pile. And today's pick-a-pile, we are going to be asking the question of why hasn't this happened yet? Our patience is running thin. We've put the work into it. Why has this thing not happened yet? Or why hasn't this entered our life? Or why haven't things taken off? Anyway, within this frustration, we are going to be answering that question and also provided some steps forward on how to better bring said thing desire experience within our lives. I have 3 choices for you in piles today, and after this, of course, we are going to get straight into the collective message. How do we all tie in as a group together? Maybe the people that are on our same path or on our same vibration. What are we going through? Why are we going through this? And maybe so we can provide some help and insight to our friends and family members along the way. So anyway, like I said, I have 3 piles for you. We have the rose quartz, the heavily rusted, tainted, whatever you want to say for this peacock ore here. Sorry, it's been sitting in soil for a hot minute. And our black tourmaline. All I need you to do is choose whichever one of these groups ends up matching your eye a little bit, whichever one seems like it sparks interest, or whichever one your gut feeling feels like it's calling to you. And then we'll get into the oracle cards and the tarot cards to follow. So without further ado, choose whichever pile fits right for you, and we're going to get straight into the collective message. So this is the true collective portion of the reading. This is if you want a brief rundown and don't want to go through the immediate, personal piles, or just get an insight as to what's going on between your friend group, your family, basically anyone that your soul is kind of tied with or meshed with right now. It's to help us feel like we're not alone while simultaneously reminding us to check in on our loved ones and make sure that we are there for them as much as we are there for ourselves. Because sometimes I feel like we get a little too self-absorbed and we forget that there are other people on similar paths to us. So what I do is I take the bottom of the deck energy from the oracle cards that I've used for each of the piles today. I think I'm also going to pull a tarot card while we're out here today, just for fun. And I'll start off with the crystal ball scry that I ended up getting today. Simply put, the image that I got on the crystal ball to answer the question of why hasn't this happened yet is this picture of a cat in a play mode, ready to pounce on something. And when I looked deeper, I saw that it was ready to pounce on what looked like a crumpled up piece of paper. A yarn ball also came to mind, but I settled on crumpled up piece of paper. And I think the message here is something about finding the ability to inspire play, to inspire fun, no matter what your circumstance is or what you're provided with. Because if we think of our pets, a lot of times we buy them these lavish toys that get them all, just because we want to show them that we love them. We get them these crazy, ridiculous, expensive toys that a lot of times get neglected for some simple household objects. In the image that I got, you have this idea of this cat that's playing up with some random crumpled up piece of paper on the ground because they like the sound, they like the way that it rolls back and forth, they like the texture, whatever it is. But a lot of times our pets will neglect these lavish toys that we buy them for whatever we have laying around and have more fun with that, whether that be to just get our attention and get us focused on them because, well, what are you doing with that when I bought you this? Or it's just because they can find fun and pleasure in whatever's around. And I think that's a lot of the message here is being able to find joy and gratitude for the moment that we're in, even if it's not quite where we want to be yet. And I know that that's a message that we've probably heard a couple of times before, but I think you are being guided to experiment more with the position that you're at within your life. If you were told today that this was the first page or the first chapter on the journey to everything you've ever desired, or if it was the page before you get everything you've ever desired, would you change your perspective of where you're at? If you were told that this was your last day in your home, or your last day at your job, or your last day with this partner or friend, would that change the way that you kind of interact with the things around you, knowing that tomorrow it would be gone? That's kind of the mindset that we're being guided to, not in a way to make us scared, anxious, and afraid to lose these things, but in a way for us to appreciate it a little bit more. You hear that people, when they're on their deathbed, all of a sudden are looking back and reflecting on their life, and they're not thinking about all of the things that went wrong, or all of the things that and I mean this in a way that, they're not thinking about everything that they shouldn't have done as much as they are a lot of times thinking about the things that they wish they would have done. Kind of this question of, if you didn't get to experience XYZ, would you regret it? And getting into the oracle cards here, we got Thor, but we have Thor in reverse. And when Thor is upright, it talks about taking action now, going towards something, making sense of a situation. But with it being in reverse, I think this is a healthy dose of take a step back and let things happen, especially prepared with the surrender card here. But also, it's this idea that it's time, but it's not. It's time for things to move forward, but it's not time for you to put so much energy on it, if that makes sense. You have the surrender card here with, I can release my need to control. And I think what you're being guided to do is whatever thing that you want to see progress within your life, continue on the path of putting those small steps forward, but don't step on the gas, if that makes sense. You don't need to go full force. If you're not seeing progression in whatever it is that you want to bring in, it's not because you're not putting enough effort in, it's because time is slowly unraveling for it, if that's making sense. I'm seeing quite a few angel numbers as I'm recording this. I saw 1111 before I started the recording. I'm seeing 444, 432. I think there is a lot of divine protection in this thing that you want. There's a lot of divine protection with you. But I also think that whatever it is that you're trying to bring in is going to usher you forward into new perspective and new beginning beyond what you are considering or thinking even right now. I'm getting like Ace of Swords energy, so I also think whatever it is when it does come in is, like I said, going to change your perspective completely in a certain area or just entirely in itself. It's going to bring this new mental clarity about how you perceive things that I think starts with this moment and learning how to appreciate the environment that we're in no matter the circumstance. I've said this before, I'll say it again. I do think that one of the strongest forms of rebellion is finding joy in the hard times. Because if you can find a way to make even the toughest situation have some sort of positive spin, and I'm not talking toxic positivity, give grace to the fact that if things are shit, they're shit. Don't delude yourself into thinking that your life is some magical, mystical whatever because you don't like where you're at. Don't sit there and lie to yourself, but give yourself reason to find joy in these things. Whether it's that little $7 cup of coffee that you get yourself on Mondays to help yourself get through the week, whether it's just acknowledging that you have a roof over your head, if you have a roof over your head, that you have food on the table, the people in your life, the joy that they bring in, the support that you get from other people. Finding the little things that make you happy and really holding on to those. And then asking yourself what else can spark joy. Embodying that energy of a cat playing with a crinkled piece of paper. What little thing do I already have around me that I can experiment with and try to bring and inspire more gratitude within my life with it? So, real quick, we're going to get one tarot card here because I think that could be a little bit fun. Cut the deck. We have the Ten of Wands as the card. And this is kind of telling me that you've been moving forward with a lot of stressors and burdens right now within your life. And I see this image in the background of just like a setting where it looks like maybe a little town or a little house out here. I have a feeling that this is telling me that you are pushing forward to this new circumstance, area, place that you want to be. But once again, it's going to be a lot easier if you start releasing some of these wands, releasing some of these burdens. I get this idea that this as a collective, we are kind of holding on to too many stressors, holding on to too many problems that are not our own, whether it is that you play therapist friend and you are holding on to everybody else's mental health, we'll say, and helping them through every struggle, and it feels like you're taking that on with your own burdens. Because I feel like you do have your own stressors here, and maybe that's your way of kind of avoiding them by taking on other people's stuff. It's either that, or for some of you guys, I think part of what you're asking for might involve other people within your life, whether it is calling in a co-worker that you need for a situation, or a lover, or the right kind of friends. And what I'm saying with that is letting go. It goes back to the surrender card here of letting go this need to control the outcome or need to help these things come in. Because like I said, you have enough on your plate right now. You have enough that you're dealing with, enough to worry about. don't take on what's somebody else's problem to bear, but also don't take on this need to point people in the right direction. I do have a little message coming through for some of you that somebody's potential is not their reality, if that makes sense. Like if you see the potential for somebody else to take off in a business venture, for example, maybe you have a friend who's really good at origami. I don't know why that came to mind, but you have a friend that's really good with origami and you're telling them to sell their origami trinkets online, but they keep holding themselves back from it. They keep saying, no, I can't do that. No, I shouldn't do that. But you know, by them doing that, it would help them in the situation that they're in with their job. They'd be able to retire off of origami, we'll say for the example. But they stick with their old job instead, their soul-crushing job that keeps them in the day by day. Just because if you were in that situation, you would be selling the origami toys, does not mean that that's what they want for their path. Is that making sense? Just because you see how this could lighten a workload for them or help them better manage their time does not mean that that's the choice that's right for them. The potential that we see in another person is projection of what we would do if we were in their circumstance. So I think using that mindset and remembering that might help you with releasing some of these struggles and burdens. Like I said, another thing here is remembering to find ways to release stress where we're at now, find ways to have gratitude where we're at now. And also, for some of you guys, I don't think that you've been completely honest with your friends and family of some of the stuff you've been struggling in. I get this heavy feeling like you've kind of been dragging your feet along day by day. And I think you are being called to start being more honest with the people that you trust and that you care about. Even if you think your problems are small in comparison, even if you think that you shouldn't have to open up to other people or that other people aren't going to be able to help you, they'll just disappoint you. I need you to take a chance on this. And take a chance on the people that you feel you can trust, of course, right? You know, have that discernment involved. You don't have to tell everybody what's going on. But I think there are a couple of people in your sphere that kind of come to mind right now that could really either help release some of these burdens with you or help instill some sort of perspective change. And at the very least, it'll help some of this emotional burnout that I'm kind of getting with this group, because we fall easier into an emotional burnout, this apathy, this dragging on, when we're not being honest with ourselves and others about how we feel. If we're constantly putting on this facade of everything is okay or we're going to get through it, when we don't feel that way, that dishonesty ends up weighing on us, and it's just like we're brushing more dirt under the rug. You know what I mean? Eventually, if you keep brushing dirt under the rug, it's going to become a mountain of dirt with a rug on top of it. So it's time that we start doing some internal sweeping here. But yeah, overall the message I think is just find more gratitude and joy where you're at, however you can find that. You know, if a cat can find a crinkled up piece of paper to be most interesting thing they've ever played with, I'm sure you can find a way to enjoy where you are now. It might not be time yet to go forward in certain things, but if you keep on the slow, steady movement that you have been, these things are going to come in a lot easier than you think. You're going to be, as long as you stay in this receptive energy where you allow things to come to you rather than trying to force things to fit. Remember, surrender here with I release my need to control. And just let things unfold as they're supposed to. Lean on your support systems right now, because I really think that they're going to help you through this tough time. But anyway, this is the main collective portion here. Keep it in mind for yourself, your friends and family, whoever you feel like is aligned with your path right now. And we're going to get straight into the more personal reading, starting with pile 1. Thanks for staying for the collective message. Hello to my pile 1s. Today we are answering the question of why hasn't this happened yet? You guys chose the rose quartz, and if you'll notice here, the rose quartz has some soil on it because I pulled it out of one of my plant pots, and the first message I'm hearing is get dirty, get messy. Take that as it resonates. I'm thinking that this group has a preemptive mindset, don't know why those words came out, but kind of this mindset that wants them to continue to grow and evolve and change, but doesn't really want to be perceived as this messier, like I'm getting the idea of somebody who's very non-confrontational and doesn't like to start shit. But I'm thinking that we're kind of embodying this vibe now of saying fuck it and truly saying what's on our mind. This clear communication aspect to it and being able to handle the shit as it comes, but also this I'm not taking any more bullshit attitude. And also there's a double message here where I think it's also talking about just like actually getting dirty. And I get this idea of somebody who, as soon as they touch dirt outside, or there's like something gets on their shirt, they're immediate to run right to the sink and wash their hands or wash it off their shirt. And like I said, take it as it resonates, but I'm thinking that we are learning how to sit with the dirt a little bit more, if that makes sense. You know, allowing yourself to get messy and knowing that you can clean it up later if it gets too bad. Like if you get some dirt under your fingernails from playing around in the garden, you can always scrub that out later. You don't have to keep peeling it out of your fingernails as you're going. Anyway, let's get into the cards here. For you guys to choose rose quartz, rose quartz is a crystal of love, unconditional love, of healing. And we're going to see how that kind of connects with your reading here. I'm also getting self-unconditional love, which I think we need to look into a little bit with shame here with that. And this idea that I feel like this group is one that once you make a mistake or something goes wrong, you start to shame yourself quite a bit. And I want to tell you that shame keeps you stuck, guilt inspires growth. So in a situation, if you feel like you have done something wrong, acknowledge it in that way. Don't acknowledge it in this idea that, like, I am bad, I did this wrong thing, so I am inherently an awful person. More of, I am a person, and what I did was wrong. That gives you that little mindset shift and neuroplasticity to say that you are not inherently bad, but you have, which leaves you without control. But instead, it's not your trait, it's an action. Traits we can't really change, but actions we can change. And just a little simple mindset shift like that when you're going through situations can help, like I said, instill this neuroplasticity to give you room to kind of like change things as it's going, right? Like I said, if you do something wrong, you are not inherently a bad person. You did something that was not good, and that behavior can be corrected in the future, or that action can be corrected with another action, normally. So anyway, getting into the cards here. You guys got 2 of these soul lesson cards, so I'm very interested to see what we're pulling in this reading. You got Envy, which says, I am the same as everybody, but with different challenges. Which I think it's very funny that we see a lot of red here, and yellow. Yellow for solar plexus, red for root, especially with the dirt on here. I'm thinking that maybe playing in the dirt a little bit, even like taking off your shoes and socks and going and standing in the mud a little bit, as uncomfy as it might be at first, will help instill some of this grounding here, or just finding ways to ground yourself within your life. I'm getting some anxiety with this group, and I think that when you are feeling anxious, take that as a call to ground yourself rather than running with the rumination. And then we also have worry. Talk about anxiety. Worry is telling us, I am learning that worry does not change an outcome. Okay. Now let's see what we have for the Viking card here. Haglaz? I'm going to slaughter all of these names as I go through the reading. I'm pretty sure that's a rune. So it is a rune, but my apologies. I pronounced it wrong. It's pronounced Haglars, which I guess means hailstones. And with it, it's kind of telling me right now that you are in a weird period of restriction and some distracting drama, for lack of a better term. Things are kind of, if you see here, even the person on the card looks like they are armored up and ready for battle. They've got 2 weapons here with them. They've got their bows, they've got their sword, and they are ready to cut through some shit. And I think this is kind of the energy in a way that you've been embodying because you've been ready for something to come at you, but also in a way you're being asked to embody. We'll get to that in a second. So, like I said, I saw a lot of anxiety with this group, which I think is why he's kind of armored up right now, as if you're waiting for something. I'm getting the vibe that where you're at in your life, Tower moment does come to mind for some of you, where it feels like a lot of things have been stripped away, or a lot of things are being cleared out of clutter, if that makes sense. Things are falling apart. Things are kind of in this destruction mode where you're feeling like things are being ripped out of your life, or things just are crumbling before you. Structure does not feel so stable. Like I said, it feels like there's a lot of drama or chaos kind of surrounding this group right now. And like I said in the beginning, a lot of this drama feels more like a distraction than it does necessary for your attention. And I feel like maybe you guys have kind of been embodying this energy for a while, where you are armored up to face all of this drama. I get the idea of like public slander is happening and somebody is ready to clear their name as soon as the rumor gets to them. You know what I mean? And in a way, I'm here to tell you not to worry about it. Not to avoid conflict if it comes forward, but in a way that the truth always comes out. And I think that you guys spend so much time obsessing and worrying about these little things that you feel like you need to control in order to save your image in a way. But I think at this point you are being asked to let this drama, whatever is happening here, that I think that you might be involved with in some way, to kind of resolve itself. Because as this gossip, we'll say, kind of seeps through the grapevine or seeps through your group or whatever it is, you're going to see who is really trustworthy here. And the fact that as these truths versus white lies unfold, the people that are so quick to believe this version of you that is being told in the story, that kind of shows you that they were never really there for you. They were kind of waiting for a reason not to like you or not to trust. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to say that as a blanket statement for everything, because there are times where things get twisted and we don't know what to choose or what side to believe or whatever. But I think that in this scenario, it feels pretty clear-cut that you're going to see who was there for you all along and who was there for your energy, more or less. Right now, the lessons that you are learning in order to move forward or call the thing that you want within your life are to let go of these worries and anxieties, to learn to trust the universe and these energies that we don't see a little bit more around us, to trust the natural unfolding and the process of things. Because you can sit there at night and think of every outcome and disaster plan for everything that might come your way. But I think a lot of times when we start disaster planning, we start unconsciously manifesting those scenarios to happen. And I'm not saying that means that every intrusive, anxious thought is going to cause a bad outcome. So don't worry too much in that department. It's more of, if we ruminate and fixate on these things, then we kind of find ways to force the outcome in that direction. And this envy here, I think, might play hand in hand with this drama that you're surrounded with, where you're kind of pissed off or jealous about a specific person, which I'm kind of hearing mirror. So maybe this person is also in a similar position to you. But also this unfairness where it feels like everybody is getting what they desire but me. And I think what I'm hearing is you only know half the story. So I think that if there are certain people or situations that you find yourself being jealous of, maybe trying to look at that from a different perspective or like a third eye view rather than from where you're at. I think overall for that message is it's kind of like focus on you a little bit more. Don't be so worried or invested in how everybody else is doing things or spending their money or wasting their time. Because if you're upset that they're doing something, take a look at it from two different perspectives. One, if say you're judging how somebody else is spending their money, that's their money to spend. When that money comes to you in the time that it does, then you can worry about how you would like to spend it, but you can't control how another person is spending their money. But alternatively, if you see somebody that's taking off online, for example, or created something, and you find jealousy in that, or you find distaste in that, ask yourself, is that something that I want to call into my life? Is that something that I want more of? For example, if somebody is taking a dance class and all of a sudden they're becoming a really good dancer and they keep dancing everywhere in public and it's starting to annoy you, like, why are you dancing all the time? maybe that's a call with something within you that you would like to learn, dance, and explore that a little bit more, and maybe try it for yourself. You know, finding ways to understand what this envy is trying to tell us rather than letting it kind of warp our perspective with where we're at. And like I said, with this armoring up here, I think you're being asked to armor up but not prepare for battle, if that makes sense. I think that there might be some conflict for you to help resolve, but you certainly don't need 2 weapons for it. You know, pick and choose one. You don't need both of them. And I think of this in the fact that the people that are, if you are in the drama yourself, like this is drama that you are part of, I think it's understanding that, like I said earlier in the reading, things are going to work themselves out in a way that the truth will come to light. You know, at least be protected in yourself, that you don't let stuff shake you. But if you're not even involved in the drama and this is just happening around you, then just let it crumble and happen around you. Don't insert yourself into it, if that makes sense. And like I said before, there might be some sort of conflict or something that you do find yourself a part of. Take it with grace and take it according to what feels right to you. You know, don't try to, if somebody's throwing stones at you, you don't have to throw stones back, but you can remove yourself or throw one stone to show that you're not going to be fucked with, but you shouldn't have to, if that's making sense. You know, armor up a little bit. Walk away from the situation. Whatever feels right. But if conflict does come for you, don't run away from the conflict is more of what I'm hearing here. You know, like I said, if somebody is coming at you with something or coming at you with an accusation, you don't have to take that. You don't have to run from it either. Even if it feels safer to run from it, I would face it head on in this situation, because I think that you facing this and going through the confrontation is going to inspire a much healthier outcome, as long as you do it in a way that feels right and justified for you, while also giving grace to the situation, if that makes sense. That's kind of what's coming through here. Because I think if you are involved with the drama, the person that's trying to start shit with you is at a very self-hatred, not happy place in their own life. And I don't think you quite understand the kind of pedestal they might have put you on mentally, if that makes sense. Because a lot of times we start these jealous feuds with people simply because we don't like that they have something that we want. And I think that this is, for a lot of you guys, you're in a scenario where somebody has been unhappy with you because, like I said, there's envy there. And you kind of just have to let them do their thing. Now, like I said, you don't have to take it, but you don't have to come in with 2 weapons and kill a bitch, you know what I mean? You are stronger than the scenario that's presenting itself. And like I said, if you're not even involved in the drama, then just don't touch it. Leave it kind of to work itself out. But yeah, I think the main things that are coming through here, like I said, is you're in a difficult time right now because you are learning these lessons here about perspective shift, in that everybody has their own challenges. Even if the grass looks greener, you can keep watering yours to be as green as you would like it to be. And also that the more you ruminate on an outcome does not prepare you for whatever is about to come. You know, releasing these mental scenarios of, oh, it could be this, it could be this. You can if yourself for hours, and that's still not going to tell you how things are going to turn out. So let's get some tarot cards here to kind of help you. Like I said, if this honestly feels like the building of a climax before a resolution of a story. Like, it feels like you are in the thick of it right now, and then I'm getting this image of somebody that's lost in like this wooded area and these creepy woods where there's trees all around and it's dark and it's cloudy and you can't really see your way through. But the moment that this situation rises and finally like settles is kind of when you find yourself out of the woods and out of this, like, it feels like the build up for an explosion before everything kind of settles afterwards. And I think that in that settling and in that little bit of rebuilding might be when you call in the things that you desire. Let's get some tarot cards to kind of explain further. I'm also seeing There's a crescent moon here. And I can't quite think of what phase that feels like to me. Maybe it's a waning crescent. So this could be, there's something about a waning crescent moon, and maybe that's something to do with timing. Maybe check a look on your calendar or on Google to figure out when the next waning crescent moon is. Because that to me either tells me when this climax is going to finally explode or when the resolution is going to start being reached, which I think is a little bit of both. Or maybe that's when you're calling in, depending on when you're seeing this, that could be when you're calling in the things that you desire. We have Temperance in reverse already, so back on that impatience bullshit. Let's keep going. Let's see what else we get here. Four of Cups in reverse. I think that's inspired by a lot of this worrying and this fear. And let's get one more. Empress in reverse. Okay. With the Three of Cups. So I think the Three of Cups is kind of telling me that this is something that might be going on within your family, your friend group, or a group of colleagues of sorts. And I think this is kind of to release people that no longer align with you, so you can start bringing in people that are more aligned with you. Or I think that's part of what's going on here. I don't know exactly what you are trying to call in right now, but I think part of it is you will be calling in people that are more connected and understand your energy a little bit more, if that makes sense. And I'm kind of seeing that I think after this conflict resolution takes place, you're going to start seeing more results and seeing yourself bring in more of what you wanted, but I think that it's really going to hit its peak around, like, October comes to mind, but I want to say the fall. Like, autumn is kind of when things are going to have fully shifted. Like, I feel like there's the conflict resolution, and then things are going to be shifting. You're going to keep seeing steps forward. And then all of a sudden, like, autumn is when everything is here. You know, you are set up in this new life a little bit better. Starting with Temperance in reverse, I think there's a lot of impatience here, which is sparked by this worry, you know, which is completely understandable. Like, if you're trying to get a business off the ground, for example, you're going to have worry about it not working when you're still working at a job that you're not happy with, right? Or anxiety just makes it a lot easier to be impatient because, well, now I don't feel like I have the evidence that this thing is coming in. How can I trust that it's coming in? Working with this unstable, instable kind of anxious energy and finding a way when you feel like you're impatient in a scenario or when you feel like this anxiety is sparking up, working through those coping mechanisms to remind you to be more present. We don't have to worry about what's coming in the next couple of months. We can start to plan a little bit for it, but what we need to do is figure out what are the steps that we can take now to ensure a better future. You can't control the next couple of weeks. Hell, you could break your leg tomorrow, right? I'm not trying to cause more stress. I'm just giving you perspective here. You're not going to break your leg tomorrow, or probably not. But if you broke your leg tomorrow, but you were planning on going for a marathon in a couple of months, and you were going to plan on training every day for it, you know? Breaking your leg tomorrow is going to break that train. But you don't know whether, this is kind of getting confusing, but you don't know whether or not you're going to break your leg tomorrow. So you could start training today and then take everything else as it comes. Does that make sense? I know I kind of started weird with that, but like I think the message came through. I'm getting the sense that you are in this energy currently of apathy. You are losing ambition. You are kind of not having fun out here anymore. It's hard to... Emotion feels so tumultuous that it's almost like we've gone to this numbing or this displeasure in life. And you're kind of being guided, this goes hand in hand with the collective message in the beginning, kind of being guided to find more fun and joy in the moment. Inspire play within your life. With the rose quartz here, I'm also getting like inner child healing vibes. And I think the first thing that comes through is, what is something that you used to love to do when you were a kid? I want you to do that again, but with this new adult lens, while also sharing the lens you had as a child. It could be as simple as watching a TV show, or coloring a picture, or some sort of hobby that you had. Maybe you joined an adult league for a sports team that you were on as a kid. But there's something here to do for your inner child with a new lens, or alternatively, try something that your inner child would have loved for you to do. Maybe you always wanted to learn how to play an instrument and the cards never fell for you. Maybe this is time to go find a teacher or go find some lessons online and invest in yourself. Buy that instrument and really just sit down and try it for a while. See if you really do enjoy it. And if you don't, there are other avenues and things I'm sure you wanted to do as a kid. And say you grew up as an adult. You know what I mean? A lot of times as a kid, we don't really get to explore those things that we wanted to, or really... Some of us, unfortunately, didn't really get to be a kid at the time, and we didn't have a lot of those dreams because we were so focused on survival. Then ask yourself, if I were a child, what would I have enjoyed doing? Or what's something that you want to try and explore now? A lot of times we get wrapped up in this concept of like trying to appease the inner child, but we can't really remember what the inner child was going through or enjoyed or whatever. Well, then look at where you're at from the lens of a child, if that makes sense. What is something that you've wanted to try to explore? What is something that would spark joy for you that's not just going out to a bar? And then finally here we have the Empress in reverse, which I think goes hand in hand with this kind of worrying, almost borderline trying to control the outcome energy. And I think we're meant to embody more of this Empress upright, this nurturing and receiving energy in the way that, you know, allowing things to come to us rather than having to force every step of the way, if that makes sense. You know, accepting when we get gifts rather than negating it and saying, I should pay you back for that. 2222 on the clock. But also this... I don't think the Empress would fight back with somebody if they called her a dirty bitch or some whatever rumors that they would want to come up with for her. She would sit gracefully knowing who she is, allowing herself to do her day by day, focused on the things that she wants to focus on. She wouldn't be texting everybody that's in the group chat separately and saying, hey, I know this person is saying XYZ about me. This is the truth. She would wait for the situation to unfold because she knows that the truth always comes out. And that she doesn't need to play a hand in anything because the shit will always expose itself. You know, shit stinks. So when it's around, when it's in the room, it's gonna smell. You're gonna be able to smell it. And if people go nose blind, let them go nose blind. You have a better palate than that. Like I said, it's remembering that the people that don't see you for who you are and would rather believe these falsities, these lies, whatever's coming through, we're not meant for you. The people that have your back, the people that ask for your side of the story and truly listen to it, not, you know, go around and tell every Tom, Jerry, and Nancy that this was your side of the story, those are the ones that you want to keep around. The ones that check on you to see if you're okay and don't really care about all the conflict that's going on, if that makes sense. I think that the position that you're in your life right now, while it feels scary and daunting and like you're losing everything and you're losing everyone and it feels like you're alone, is to set you up better. First off, so you are more secure in yourself and in this stronger energy of knowing what bullshit you'll accept and what you won't accept. But like I said, also to propel you forward to people who truly understand you and are there for you. I'm getting like pumpkins and oranges might be something big for you guys in the now coming time. That could just be like a scent to surround yourself with, maybe using more citrusy perfume or lighting some pumpkin candles, or it could be a call to like add more of those things in your diet in one way or another. But heavy with the lower chakra energies here, but I do think that I will say the worry and anxiety blocks a lot of your intuition, third eye, and the fact that you start ruminating and giving too much substance to those scenarios, if that makes sense. But if you take a second to reground yourself, to remember your worth, to flow with things rather than finding a way to control the outcome, I think that you intuitively are stronger than you realize. And even in this friend group, or coworker scenario or family scenario, whatever this drama is coming through as, I think A, you had an inkling it was going to happen before it happened in one way or another. And B, you already instinctively know who you can trust and who you can't trust moving forward. And it's honoring that intuition rather than trying to force things to be how you want them to, if that makes sense. But yeah, it hasn't come in yet because we have to go through the shit to come to the better outcome, if that makes sense. And like I said, I don't think this is nearly as daunting as it feels. And I don't think there's virtually any work you have to put in, except for if the conflict comes towards you, acknowledge it with grace. You know, interacting with conflict is not necessarily a bad thing. It's about how you hold yourself, your behaviors, and the way that you communicate through it. Because if this person that's trying to start shit, or these people that are starting shit, have one way they react to you, or they try to gaslight, or whatever happens here, as long as you are secure enough within yourself and you know your truth, you're not going to let that shake you. Anyway, I hope this message helped. If you would like to book a personal reading with me, please check out the link in my description below. Check out my website. I would love to work with you, but if nothing else, thank you so much for staying for the reading, love. Love and light. Have a good one. So if you chose and don't quote me on this, but I think it's a peacock ore, then this message is going to be for you. Like I said, in the beginning, as you can see, it's kind of been in the soil for a while. It's kind of lost some color, but I think there's a little bit of message here that just because it seems like it's lost its dull or its shine or its sparkle does not mean that it's lost its power. There's a reason that I still put this in with the plants that it's in. It still has its innate energy and ability. Just because it doesn't have all of the color that it once did does not mean that it detracts from its worth. And further than that, I'm kind of getting a vibe that maybe that's kind of what life has been feeling like for you recently. Maybe life has felt like it's lost a little bit of color or shine, and it's kind of dulled its sparkle. But that doesn't mean that we can't find that spark and sparkle again. So let's get into the card messages right away here. For the soul lesson, we have balance, which says, I bring a state of perfect harmony into my world, and I do so without judgment. And I'm seeing a lot of like green and a lot of blue here, so a lot of heart and throat chakra energy with this group. And then for your Viking card, we have Perthro. So what I'm going to say essentially is Perthro is this dice game here with this cup. And there's this idea of luck, chance, and a little bit of control placing an outcome. It talks about how currently I see you in this confusing time, this challenging endeavor that's kind of taking place within your life. There's something that's really shaking up your energy here. And while dice games feel like they're chance when you go into it, there is a certain bit of how much you're shaking the dice, what angle the dice are in the cup, that there is going to be a determining of the outcome. And one of the messages within this card is that you've kind of been in a similar position to this before. You've been in a situation like this before that's kind of prepared you for this moment. You have some extra knowledge and wisdom accumulated to go through whatever it is that you're going through currently. There are also multiple choices to get to similar or the same outcome. And like I said, that kind of, there's this combination of chance and luck, but also your choices, actions, and decisions influencing how things unfold here. With balance, I'm seeing this idea of finding a way to feel settled and feel stable no matter what way the wind blows you, if that makes sense. This kind of adaptive ability to think light enough on your feet that no matter what life throws at you, you are able to be resilient enough to push through it or find a way to make things work out in your favor, for lack of a better term. And I'm kind of getting, like I said, there's this like previous karmic energy here where it feels like you've been in a situation similar to the one that you are reflecting in right now. And that maybe last time you didn't handle things so smoothly or handle things so stable. but you're being given both a second chance here to kind of prove to yourself that you've grown and changed. You don't have to prove it to the universe. You don't have to prove it to your friends, your family, whoever. This is to prove to you that the work that you've done has been showing. And that's not to shame you or to give you a bunch of anxiety. I think that it feels like the path that you're on, no matter what you do, you're already going to show growth in the outcome. But like I said, this tumultuous moment that we're in right now, you've already prepared for. You've already been through something similar and come out alive, so you know you're going to come out alive stronger and wiser this time around. And after whatever it is that you're going through here, it feels like a little bit more of smooth sailing. It feels like a little bit more of smoother waters. It feels like that's when you start to bring in your luck and abundance. That's when you roll the right number on the die, so to speak. Let's get into some tarot cards because I feel like there's so much more here to explore. Justice. We love to see it. Seven of Cups. The Knight of Wands. You guys got a couple more tarot cards in the last group. Death, the Devil, and at the bottom of the deck energy, we have the Knight of Cups. With the Justice being up right here, I do think that this is a call that as long as you are true to your values and true to yourself, this situation will work out in your favor. Not just work out in your favor, but I feel like unfold in your favor in a way. Even if it does shake you up for a second or make you doubt and question things, things are going to work smoother as long as, like I said, you are true to your value, your beliefs, and who you are as an individual. With the Death and the Devil being up here, I feel like this certain situation is a lesson that you have faced before, where you have felt chained to an outcome or chained to a person or a scenario. There's this addictive obsession, escapism energy here that's tied with the Death, telling me that you've learned the lesson and that you have metamorphosized, so to speak. You have changed and transmuted this energy before. You have grown stronger from it. You have learned what you were supposed to learn, and you have moved on. But if you can see here, the horse is kind of moving back to this Devil. So it's almost like you've moved on from that energy to move back into it in a way. And with the Devil having these bat wings here, this is something to do with your shadow side. Some maladaptive coping mechanism or old pattern of thought that kind of used to control your life, but you've learned how to grow from it and change your perspective quite a bit with it. And all of this has to do with some sort of wish fulfillment that you have been wanting or wanting to garner within your life. But I'm hearing make space for it. So what I'm seeing with this image is, if you'll see, he's here and he's folding his arms and he's waiting for the thing that he wants to come in. But he has his whole shelf full of all of these other cups. These could be past wish fulfillments. These could be things that have given you fulfillment in the past. This could be people, places, situations, career, hobbies, interests. He has no room for what he wants on this shelf. So I'm hearing the term spring cleaning, which I think part of the scenario that you're going through right now, if you are losing things, if you are releasing things, is all a part of this spring cleaning. Getting rid of the old cups that no longer serve you so you can make room for the new cups that serve this new version of yourself that you're trying to embody here. I'm seeing that there are a lot of choices. So if this is manifesting a specific person or manifesting a specific job opportunity or manifesting a specific place you want to be within your life, whatever it is, a lot of options are about to or have started to present themselves to you. And it's kind of causing this anxious cloud, this fear of, well, what is the right one for me and how am I going to know which one is the one that I've been manifesting? And like I said, it's kind of going back to, it keeps coming back to you in this concept of when you are embodying who you are to your core, who you're meant to be, when you are embodying your values, things are a lot clearer. You know, it's the idea of like, there are two people in front of you and you're figuring out which one you want to talk to maybe start a connection with. First off, talking to person A does not mean that you won't be able to talk to person B. Or God forbid something happens, you talk to person A and person B leaves the party. You might meet person B at the next party or at the supermarket or whatever, right? If it's meant for you, it will keep coming back to you within your life until, you either fulfill the lesson or it fulfills its role within your life. So if you went and talked to person A at the party, if you were to fall back into old people-pleasing patterns, maybe from the past, that maybe you're agreeing with them on certain things that you don't fully agree with, well, that's going to make things a little cloudier. It's going to make it a little more confusing. Like, is this person meant to be in my life? But say you went up to person A and you were unabashedly yourself in the scenario, not like strongly like, this is me, these are all of my issues, this is who I've been as a person, reject me or accept me. But more of like, going in with the same attitude that you would when you're, say there's something you don't agree with that they're talking about. And you say, hey, actually, I don't agree with that. And you find out this person isn't really happy with you or happy with your answer. Well, now you've marked down that person A is not maybe what you were waiting for in your life. So then you go over to person B. And you, once again, are unabashedly yourself. You're speaking your truth. You're coming through in the scenarios that feel right to you. And then maybe you end up hitting it off with person B. Well, maybe this person is meant to be in your life then. It's this idea of the more that you embody your truth, the more the things that are meant for you are going to come in. And I do feel like there's a lot of, with these kind of paired together here, I'm getting this idea that a lot of these options and these things are coming in. First off, it's all dependent on your energy here, right? Like I said, if we're falling into old patterns, old behaviors, old situations, if we're not embodying our truth, we're going to kind of get options aligned with that. But the more that you align yourself to who you truly are and what you truly desire, the more that you're going to kind of find ease within these options and also bring in the options that are meant for you. The Knight of Wands with the Seven of Cups here kind of is telling me that a lot of these options are going to come in, they're going to come in quick, and they're going to require some on-your-feet thinking. Don't make a choice if the choice doesn't feel right, obviously, but also don't make a choice if it feels too rushed. Give yourself time to consider the outcome, to consider these scenarios, and to feel within your body whether or not this thing feels like it's aligned with you. I know that sounds kind of weird and like woo-woo, but I truly do think that our bodies kind of give us an inkling of whether or not something is jiving with us, energetically, physically, whatever. I mean, it goes back to the idea of like, I'm sure you might have heard before that people who have dated the wrong person or been in the wrong relationship, they ended up seeing like physical changes. For example, like cystic acne started sprouting up after they've had clear skin their entire life, or something's wrong with their pH in their body or their balance levels, things like that. I think one of the simplest ways to know in a scenario, which I've been trying to use more myself, is if it's aligned, it's going to feel like it's opening something within you. If it's unaligned, it's going to feel more constrictive and restrictive, if that makes sense. It's going to feel more like like you're being kind of squeezed into something internally, if that makes sense. Going back to that concept of chance and control, I think that it's really, the only thing you can truly control within this life is yourself, right? Your behaviors, your attitude, your thought process to an extent. So the chance comes in when it's, what does life throw at you? How do people show up within your life? You can't control that. So it's this idea of being stable, set, and understanding enough within yourself that no matter what life throws at you, you're not going to be shaken up if you don't like what's going on in the moment, right? Because as long as you like yourself, you like your life, you like the path that you're on, you like what you are going forward with, that's what matters. You like the people that you're surrounding yourself with, that's what matters. So whether it's people that are, or situations that are already within your life, or what is to come, you don't have two shelves here. There's that, like I said, spring cleaning. Situations and people might pop up in weird ways that are going to be asking you and showing you what's aligned and what's not with you anymore. And then these new things, once they come in to replace the areas on the shelf that you've been kind of cleaning out, look at them from the lens of who you want to be and who you want to embody. There is a little bit of a fake it till you make it energy here, and I think that stems from some imposter syndrome with this group. Going back to, like I said earlier, there's heavy throat chakra and heart chakra vibes here. And with the heart, I think that's that opening up to this love in yourself, love for others, this forgiveness, this understanding, but also the throat chakra embodiment of like boundaries, speaking your truth. If somebody doesn't like a boundary that you've placed for your own health, wealth, and well-being, something that doesn't ask too much of them, you know what I mean? We have to be fair to an extent, right? There's also compromise involved for healthy relationships. But if something doesn't feel right to you and how somebody reacts to a certain boundary you've placed or a way that you've spoken about yourself or expressed yourself, maybe take a look at that. You know what I mean? Like I said, healthy dose of compromise in relationships, healthy dose of like understanding for both people if a relationship is like truly meant for you or whatever. But also understanding that self-sacrifice has no true place here. You know, accept your throne for where you're at, because I feel like a lot of you guys have done a lot of self-sacrificing and a lot of over-forgiving in the past, and that's kind of put you at this place of like I said, there were some people-pleasing tendencies that we've kind of worked through here. And not to fall back into these old patterns. And maybe that's kind of where you're at now. Like I said, you've learned these lessons, you've moved on from these lessons, but they did resurface. And it's taking what you knew before, the wisdom and the knowledge, and applying it better this time around, if that makes sense. Like, I do think what's going on here is reflective of a lot of the things that you've already been through and done before, but you're showing up as this new version of yourself with a new lens to handle it a little more gracefully, and also to finally put this situation to bed is kind of what I'm hearing. I think that you're going to be calling in a lot more, like I said, that's aligned with you, a lot more that feels right. And honestly, I think this might be a shorter reading because I don't think there's much more here. I mean, last thing is like, you're looking at the devil card here. This person is looking at that person, is looking at the chain. They feel like they're chained up in this scenario, like they have no choice or breaking out of outcome, but she sees the devil here. She is conscious and aware of what's going on in this scenario. I think you are conscious and aware of the lessons as they stem up and as they're happening. And awareness is the first step. Awareness is like 50% of it, right? Because once you have the problem written down, that's halfway to finding the solution. And for those of you that are going to get some sort of impulsive urge, I urge you to take a beat and take a breath before putting action in that specific area. It feels like you might have some sort of energy or some sort of person, or that's kind of unconsciously or consciously trying to stem some sort of self-sabotage out of you, or this might just be a lickety-split last second, like I'm feeling like everything's crumbling, so let me fall into the self-sabotaging behavior. And I need you to armor up and protect yourself just in case. Not any way to scare you, just like literally just put energetic armor, whatever that means to you, on, or hold on to a crystal that feels protective, or clothing that feels protective, whatever it may be, color magic, whatever. But also, like, you'll know that it's self-sabotaging before you take the action. Weigh the outcome, because I'm not here to tell you what to do. This is your life. Make your decisions as you will. This is your choice to make. But I do think that that feels like a test that you already passed. And why would you go back and take the test again if you've already, you know what I mean? And also, like, I don't know. It just feels like in the moment things might be hopeless, but if you choose the outcome that is better for your health and better aligned for your truth, it might feel hard within that night or that day that you wanted to do the self-sabotaging behavior, but like either later within that day or the next day, I feel like there's this weight that's lifted off almost. And if not like the next day, then in the next couple of days, it almost feels like peace has been restored because you chose not to go through that chaotic motion, if that makes sense. I'm hearing Aries. So for a lot of you guys, Aries season might be significant. I'm also hearing Sagittarius. So Sagittarius might also be like a very significant season for you guys, but I'm really feeling Aries vibes. So either this is the big climax before the release, and then, you know, then you start to see evidence of what you've wanted come in or whatever. Or this is like when things are meant to kind of like level out and come into your life. I have a feeling it's more of the latter, where it's like Aries season is going to feel a lot easier than Pisces season did. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I have for you guys. With the sun in the background, just know that like you don't have to put your hand too much into it. We don't want too many hands in the cookie jar here. You're not going to have any room to actually do what you want to anyway. So just like let things unfold as they're going to. The only thing that you can control is yourself, and using that to your advantage will help get you to a better outcome that you desire. But with the sun here, everything's going to work out. It's going to be fine. No need to harp on and stress about it. But if nothing else, I think that's all I have for you guys today. I hope this message helped. And if you are interested in booking a reading with me, please check out the link in the description. Check out my website. Book a reading. I would love to work with you. And I hope this message helped. Have a good one. One more thing for you bitches, because I completely forgot to talk about this in the reading. Peacock, or if you are ever confused or in a situation where you don't know which way is the right way for you, you can always ask the universe for sign symbols and synchronicities. It's super easy. It can be as simple as, show me a blue bird if this person is meant to be in my life, or show me a cow dancing on its hind legs if I am meant to pursue this path. It's really that simple. It doesn't always come up in the way that you expect it to. It might come up in a little different, but you'll know what the sign is and what it means to you when it happens. But if you're ever confused and you really don't know if something is meant for you or not, just ask the universe to show you the way. That's part of it. You are allowed to, the universe wants to work with you, not against you. So just start using your power to your advantage. Much love. Hope this helped. End of my coffee cup and last pile of the day. Hello, Black Tourmaline group. This one's going to be for you already, with the Black Tourmaline being your choice. I'm kind of getting the vibe that it's time to put some protective boundaries up, or to be extra protective in this next time of your life. And this could be as simple as just stabilizing and grounding your energy more, making sure that you are present within the moment, making sure that we work through those anxieties and just remember that things are stable and working out in our favor, but also putting up these energetic boundaries and making sure that people are playing fair with us, more or less. I have the feeling, I'm hearing energy vampires, so that means that you might have a couple people within your sphere, in your circle, around your group even, you know, like vultures on the outside looking in, that kind of suck the joy out of things, is one vibe that I'm getting, but also just make it feel like you're drained by the end of hanging out with them, and we're going to kind of probably get into that a little bit within this reading. But Black Tourmaline was your choice, which Black Tourmaline is great for a good, like, protective energy to kind of keep you, like I said before, a little more stable and secure, but also weeding out those energetic, unfriendly vibes that might be around us right now. But let's go into your soul lesson currently. The question we're answering, just to reiterate, is why in the fuck has this not happened yet, or not shown itself within my life, not come to be? And you guys got love. I commit to the practice of seeing good in all things. So this might be a little bit of a pessimist group. We'll get into that in a second. With the red being here and the green and the purple. Okay, so the red, I'm definitely getting the heavy root chakra vibes. This idea of finding stability, feeling safe where you're at, Not letting anxiety take over too much, remembering that at the end of the day, you are protected and you have control over yourself. Even if you don't have control of the outcome, you have the resilience, the knowledge, the wisdom, and the strength to pretty much make it out of everything alive. And from there, develop more wisdom and knowledge from the experience and continue to thrive. With the heart chakra, I do think there's a little bit of healing going on. With the third eye, I'm seeing some intuitive nudges, urges, and maybe an open perspective and understanding. For the Viking card, you guys got Freya. And there are a couple of messages I'm getting here within Freya. First off, you guys are the first to get a deity out of any of the groups, so maybe this is a call to, if you've been interested in deity work, maybe getting into it a little bit. Maybe you do work with Freya as one of your deities currently. But further than all of that, there is this concept of birth and death, this concept of using discernment, of taking charge of power. There's also this fiery energy, which I think later in the reading we'll get into a little bit more, but I am kind of getting this vibe of like summer Leo season being very impactful for this group. With Freya here, there is this idea that, like we said before, you have accumulated all of this wisdom and knowledge. And I think this has also been reflective in your own beauty. I think every time you do level up and learn lessons and instill these within your life and grow closer and closer to who you truly are, you kind of get this energetic and physical upgrade to go with it, where your aura becomes more magnetic and your features become even more desirable, even more beautiful. There's also this talk of both being a defender and strong in battle, while this sensuality and sexuality is present. And I think we're going to get more into it the more that we get into the cards here, but I think you're being asked to tap into this flow kind of energy and kind of mix it with this passionate fire energy, which I think kind of breeds and instills this sensuality and sexuality expression. I'm not telling you that you have to go out and like show your titties or anything, but I am saying that there is this like, it doesn't hurt to go shake your ass every once in a while. Getting into that dance and movement with your body really allows flow to happen. For this group specifically, I am saying if there are moments of stagnancy and it feels like everything is goopy and nasty and stuck, turn on some music and just dance around for a little bit. Get some movement to kind of inspire that action, if that makes sense. I'm also hearing feminine rage, and I'm not assuming your gender or anything here when I say that. It's more of like this idea of built up and pent up anger and aggression from all of these situations, betrayals, misdeeds, mistrust, injustices that have happened. And I think there's this either repression of it or it comes out in different ways, if that makes sense, like frustrated tears, or just doesn't come out as anger. And I think I'm hearing honor your anger here. Using this anger as your armor, your shield, and your weapon to an extent. Not letting it run your life. But I think for a long time with this group, there has been this, like I said, like repression of anger, this repression of your frustration, trying to just like take it on the chin, bite your tongue, and keep moving. But I think you're being asked to embody this energy of letting your anger loose, releasing it, seeing what you can create and cultivate by honoring this feeling. Because at the end of the day, emotions are messengers. We feel them and they come into our lives in a way to help show us if something is aligned or unaligned with us. And a lot of times anger breeds this necessity for control. But I think you're being asked to look at it from a lens of flow, if that makes sense. Like if something happens and it makes you angry, not trying to stick your hand in and control the outcome so it comes out less frustrating, but instead seeing it for as it is and using your anger to create something else in spite of seeing that, if that makes sense. Let's get into a couple of tarot cards here to kind of go further with it. I'm seeing some of you guys, if you do practice witchcraft, you might have some sort of staff or some sort of wand or some sort of spiritual tool. Maybe it's a knife, maybe it's like I don't know, I have something here that kind of comes to mind is like this selenite knife that I have. And if you don't have one, maybe this is a call to like find something to use as a spiritual tool. And when I say find, I don't mean you have to go out and buy something new. But there's something here about, like, even if you find like a stick on the side of the road that looks like it'd be a good wand or a good dagger or something like that, creating some sort of spiritual tool with meaning is going to help you somehow right now. Like I said, this is for more of like if you are practicing any sort of magic or witchcraft, it's a way to kind of help you direct your energy and something to put energy into to help you when you are casting spells or trying to create something within your life. I'm also hearing imagination. So there's a lot of this here about like if you need to do some sort of cord cutting spell to cut ties with somebody or some sort of spell to instill something within your life, there is this idea of letting your inner child come through to help you with your spell work, if that makes sense. So it's like, you know, we watch movies and we see witches and wizards and warlocks and they all have like these trinkets and these potions and these different things. Starting to look at the things within your life with that magic lens rather than the mundane that it is. And this is just like a side bit of advice to kind of help instill this energy. I think this coming back to love a lot with like the initial collective message that I had has this idea of finding play in the everyday that we do. Like, it's this idea of maybe you started your spiritual journey and you accumulated a bunch of crystals because you heard that these crystals have all these magic powers and energy. And now you find yourself just like wearing them every once in a while, or you have them anointed in different places in your house or in your room. But it's like you're only seeing them as rocks now. They've kind of lost this magic touch, and you're kind of being asked to put the magic touch back in your life, if that makes sense. You know, this idea of making things magical again. Like I said, this could be as simple as creating a spiritual tool to help you while you're doing the spell work, really using your imagination to create that feeling and that buildup when you're having a ritual. Or even as simple as like you make your morning coffee or you make your morning tea or whatever you drink and you treat it as an elixir and you say those mantras and those affirmations over it of I am awake, I am focused. All of this is going to help make spell work feel magical again, make your everyday feel a little more magical. And the more that we feel that magic and we put that control to create that magic within our life, the more that we're going to see that magic come through. Is that making sense? I feel like you guys have been a little too on the 3D plane when I think you have the potential to really like travel dimensions in your mind, if that's making sense. Also, I'm hearing dress up. So maybe there's something here within your style or the way that you express yourself that kind of needs to be... I mean, look at how anointed she is in her outfit and her style. And like, I wouldn't say that the fur here really matches what she's going with, but she finds a way to sell it so nicely. You know what I mean? Like, however you desire to dress up or present yourself, maybe play around with that a little bit. Really allow yourself to take the time each night or each morning to choose an outfit that's going to make you feel like you're ready to take on the day. You know, dress for success kind of vibes. And whatever that means to you. That doesn't mean that you have to go out and like business formal because you want to start. No, it means to use this as an opportunity to express yourself deeper and show the world who you truly are rather than just throwing on a t-shirt and jeans. Let's see. What else? Okay. Sorry, friend. I'm hearing earthquake. So maybe it feels like the ground has felt unsteady and yep. It feels like things are just a little crazy right now. Like there's this no sense of control here. Let's see what else comes through. Okay. All right, I'm going to take this bottom of the deck energy here. So from where I'm seeing here, you are currently at this point where something has happened. And you kind of feel like you've been wounded from this event. It kind of feels like you're just limping on, out in the cold. You're hurt, you're hungry. It feels like you've been forgotten and you've just lost something. And you are being asked to honor this time by healing yourself, obviously, but also finding a way to create joy in where we're at now. Let me get a little deeper into this here. I just saw 1, 2, 3 on the clock, and I'm taking that as a message of like moving forward. You kind of see that here with the characters of this card moving forward. It feels like 1 step, 2 step, 3 step, if that makes sense. And you currently right now are at this step 1 of the process. You have been releasing these things that no longer serve you. You've had falling outs, you've had losses, maybe fired from a job kind of vibes, maybe losing money, losing people, missed opportunities. It feels like you have gone through this period of loss. And like I said, you're kind of sitting here wounded, trying to find your way to the next shelter or the next destination. With this Emperor in reverse, it comes back to this idea of filled with repressed anger and need to control. This anxiety that's kind of washed over you. To get through it, you are simply being asked to ride the waves of how you're feeling right now. You are being asked to flow with the emotions as they come and truly feel them rather than trying to suppress them. That's not saying that, like, if somebody pisses you off, to go and start yelling at them and take your anger out on them. But that is saying that if you feel this anger bubbling inside of you, acknowledge the anger rather than trying to ignore it and trying to pretend that everything is fine. You can vent to a friend if you need to, go to the gym to let off some steam, but finding a way to allow this emotion to be expressed rather than suppressed and not blowing up at everybody else. This Devil in reverse tells me that there were some attachments in your life that did not serve you and ended up being some sort of crutch. Something that helped you get through the day by day but was not aligned with your truth. And now you're kind of seeing, like, it's like the veil has been peeled back and you're seeing things for as they are now. 14:14 on the clock, Temperance. Which is kind of telling me too, if you don't see this yet, don't be anxious about it. Be patient. It will present itself to you. But I think as these things have presented themselves to you, it feels like, in the moment it feels like this loss. It feels like it's inspiring this frustration, this anger, but at the end of the day, it's going to create this release of worries, this release of burdens that have been piled on top of you. All of this loss is getting transmuted into this wisdom and strength to keep going and keep becoming more secure within yourself. I'm also hearing like it creates abundance, so maybe it's like the more that you, like, when things leave your life, it gets replaced with some sort of abundance that you've been searching for. For example, you lost a job, and of course you're going to beat yourself up over that, and you're going to be stressed, and you're going to be worried because, damn, I need this job to survive, I need this job for my life. But a day or two later, or you decide, oh, here we go. So I was going to say a day or two later, all of a sudden a job opportunity pops up, but I think it's more of like, you lost your job, you're stressed, and then a friend comes up to you and says, hey, why don't we go bowling? And at first you're like, well, I don't even have, how am I supposed to, I need to pay money for rent and all these other things, I can't just go bowling and forget about it. And it's not telling you to go waste your money on things or whatever to try to, like, ignore this stress, but, like, take it as a call to, like, de-stress. You go bowling with your friend and all of a sudden you are faced with this opportunity where somebody else is like, hey, I have a job lined up at my company if you would like to come in for an interview. You know, it's this, all of a sudden you are hit with some sort of misfortune. You feel the stress and anxiety of it, but you don't allow it to overtake you. And then you try to find a way to cope within the moment, within time, within what's happening. And it leads you to this new outcome or this new event or this new door to open. I think with this group seeming like it has this struggle with repression, whenever you feel this buildup and you want to ignore this emotion or whatever's going on, or you just don't want to deal with it right now, I want you to just even if it feels like it's going to be too heavy to sit with it for a little bit, because I think the more you are to release these stagnant feelings that bubble up rather than ignore them, it unlocks a new door each time, if that makes sense. And it might start out small, like maybe you find a $10 bill on the street, or maybe a new opportunity to hang out with your friends happens. But I think that like good little fortunes are coming in each time you release these emotions you were scared to before. Almost like the universe is giving you like little treats to let you know, yes, this is the behavior I want to see. Moreover, anything else, I know that this feels like a very unfortunate time right now. And I know that it feels like you are losing a bunch of things and you're in a very scary position and a very vulnerable place. But this is truly just taking out the things that aren't meant for you to align you with and give you the perspective of showing you what you are truly worthy of and the things that you are meant to bring in within your life. It's this idea that like for the thing you want to come in, there is a piece of yourself here that you need to let go of. It feels like this is like some sort of survival mechanism that has been implemented in your life through betrayals and trauma that you kind of hardened to get through the day by day. And it's releasing whatever this past version of yourself is in order for you to embody more of who you truly are, to allow what you want to come in. Going back with Freya back here, there's this idea that you are in the death period right now because, or to set you up for simultaneously this nurturing and fertility period. Like while you are letting these things go, releasing them, almost like this sense of purging, there's the soil right in front of you ready to start planting. And I think that you do have a couple of seeds that have already been planted and you've been waiting to grow, but you've had to kind of like, this is you pulling out the weeds from your garden, so to speak, to make sure that your plants can flourish and grow properly. And with all of this repression and these betrayals and these letting go, I need you to come back to this concept of forgiveness. And we're not talking forgive and forget to allow people to do whatever they want in our lives. No, this is forgiving for the sake of you. This is forgiving what other people did because they didn't know any better and they couldn't have done any better. You know what I mean? People are doing the best they can with what they know and what they have at the time. And being able to accept that, it's the idea of like, if a snake bites you, don't run back and ask the snake why it bit you. Go tend to that wound and then know that you don't have to associate with that snake again. You know what I mean? It's this idea that these betrayals and these situations and these losses play around in your mind still. It's this healing the timeline, so to speak, because you're still focused on something that happened 10 years ago and you're afraid that it's going to show up in the new people now. So it's almost like you're looking for these traits. When if you start to forgive that that person did what they did or that scenario happened the way that it happened and there's nothing that you can do about it now, and you try to focus on the now and you try to focus on your future and trying not to look for those traits in these new scenarios, so to speak. Like, yes, obviously giving attention to if you do start to see parallels in situations, but not necessarily looking for those parallels. And I mean this mostly in new scenarios and people that show up within your life, because a lot of times that can lead to a self-sabotage where it's like, you know, this person cheated on me, so I'm constantly asking my partner if they're going to cheat on me, and that makes them question if I trust them and blah, blah, blah. But also, I think for some of you, there might be recircling, if that makes sense. And I'm not telling you that you have to allow anybody back into your life or you have to trust anybody again or forgive them, because I would never tell you what to do anyway. I mean, I'm just here to offer advice. I'm not here to like tell you specifically what must be done. But if you do feel a draw to allow somebody back within your life and you truly think that they have changed, you don't have to forgive them right away, but allow them to prove to you that they've changed. Don't hold them to old behaviors. It's the idea of like being wary and acknowledging that they've done something before, But if you really want them back in your life and you really want this forgiveness, then you can't consistently be holding them to a past version of themselves. And I say that with a double-edged sword here almost, because I don't fully believe in always accepting people from our past back into our lives and trying to rekindle that flame. But I do think to an extent, if you have personally changed so much and you have shown so much growth, then it's not impossible for others to do it as well. And that's to give you hope, but like I said, also to keep you wary, because just because you've allowed somebody back into your life to an extent does not mean that you have to immediately forgive them and wash away all their sins. It's that balance of not holding them to the person that they were, but forcing them to show themselves as who they've become and who they've learned to be, and like holding them to the standard that they say that they are. You know, actions speak louder than words. Watch their actions. Do they match with what they're saying kind of vibe. There might be some broader project or collaboration coming in, and part of that I think is like in this Five of Pentacles energy, there are two people here. So there might be somebody that's kind of matching your vibe currently of like, everything is falling away. I need to go tend to my wounds. I need to go pull out the weeds from my garden and make sure I'm nurturing what's going on there. And I think that person or those people that kind of aligned with this energy now, and kind of, I feel like you guys might have had similar lessons in the past. You'll find out through learning and getting to know this person. That is supposed to help you, like I said, in some sort of broader project or broader picture here. I'm not exactly sure what it is. But yeah, at this time, because I do see you in this more vulnerable and frail position, I would definitely keep your energetic boundaries up and keep looking for ways to find magic within your everyday life, because just because you're going through this tough time does not mean that the magic has disappeared. You can call for it whenever you need it. You can ask the universe, spirit, whoever, for different signs, symbols, and synchronicities to keep you forward, and for little fortunes in everyday life. But yeah, it hasn't come in yet because you're finishing up weeding your garden and tending to your wounds before you can really let your plants prosper, for lack of a better term. And yeah, like I said before, express yourself. There's some way here that it feels like you've kind of watered down your energy, and I want you to unabashedly show up as this fiery, passionate person that I know you to be. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it. I hope this message helped. Remember to just flow with it. Go with it and flow with it. And if it feels stagnant and stuck, shake your body a little bit, shake some ass, and let it move right out of you. But if nothing else, and you're interested in booking a personal reading, please check out the link in the description below. I would love to work with you. Check out my website, book a reading. And I hope this message helped. Love and light, friend. Thank you for staying.